You'll never do better than me, so don't even think about leaving. She sneered when I caught her cheating. So I proved her wrong and left. Now I've moved on, and she's the one who can't let go. Hey viewers, before we move on to the video, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button if you want to see more stories like this. Thanks. I've always thought of myself as a pretty simple guy. I don't mean boring or unambitious. I just mean I value stability, loyalty, and peace. I grew up in a house where arguments could turn explosive, so when I got older, I swore to myself I'd never bring that kind of chaos into my own relationships. I'd rather work hard, be steady, and be the kind of partner someone can rely on. That's what I thought I was building with Emily. We met through mutual friends, and in the beginning, she seemed to love that about me. She'd brag to her girlfriends that I was so solid and the most dependable guy. I'd pick her up from work when it rained, show up to fix little things in her apartment, bring her groceries when she was stressed. I never thought of it as going out of my way. It's just what you do when you love someone. But somewhere along the way, what she once praised started turning into little digs. You're such a grandpa. She'd laugh if I suggested staying in and cooking instead of going out. God, you're so routine. Don't you ever get bored of being safe? The first few times, I brushed it off. Every couple teases each other. But after a while, it wasn't playful anymore. The jokes felt like jabs. Like she was comparing me to some imaginary, better version of a boyfriend that existed in her head. I noticed her phone habits started changing too. She used to leave it on the counter while she cooked or watched TV, never caring if I glanced at it. Then suddenly, it was glued to her hand, flipped screen down whenever she set it on the table. Notifications would come in, and she'd tilt the screen away. One night, I caught a glimpse of her phone lighting up with a guy's name I didn't recognize. She quickly shoved it into her pocket. Who's that? I asked, keeping my tone even. She didn't even blink. Coworker. Chill. You're so paranoid sometimes. I'm not paranoid, I said quietly. You just never used to hide your phone like that. She rolled her eyes so hard it almost looked painful. God, you sound insecure. It's called having friends. That word, insecure, hit harder than I expected. I wasn't the jealous type. I trusted her. But she said it with such contempt, like I was some needy kid begging for attention. That night, I remember lying awake, staring at the ceiling, asking myself if I was overthinking. I had always promised myself I wouldn't become controlling or accusatory in a relationship. So instead of pushing, I just let it go. Or tried to. But the small red flags kept stacking up. She'd make comments about other guys we passed on the street. Wow, that guy is built. You should think about lifting more. It'd look so good on you. She started dressing up more for girls' nights than she ever did for dates with me. And whenever I suggested planning something long-term, like maybe saving up for a trip or talking about living together, she'd change the subject. One evening, I finally decided to test the waters. We were sitting on the couch, her scrolling through her phone, me finishing up some paperwork for my job. I said carefully. Do you feel like we're on the same page about the future? She barely looked up. What do you mean? Like us. Where this is going. I feel like I'm putting a lot into making sure we're solid, but sometimes I wonder if you even want the same things. She gave this little laugh, the kind where you know the other person isn't taking you seriously. You overthink everything. We're fine. Just enjoy it. Stop trying to plan every detail like some middle-aged dad. I sat there, quiet, letting her words sink in. She was dismissing me again, brushing off my feelings like they were ridiculous. That was the night I really started noticing the cracks. Not just the phone she kept face down, or the dig she made about me being safe or boring, but the fact that she didn't actually respect me. I didn't know it yet, but that disrespect was only going to get a whole lot louder. It was a Saturday afternoon when everything finally snapped into focus. Emily said she was going to a brunch with the girls, which wasn't unusual, except she got dressed like she was going to a cocktail party. Full makeup, hair curled, heels. I made some light-hearted comment. That's a fancy brunch outfit. And she smirked. Well, you know, the girls like to dress up. She left her laptop open on the kitchen counter. Normally, I'd never snoop. I hate that kind of invasion. But when I went to move it aside so I could set down some groceries, a notification pinged on the screen. It was from Chris, the same name I'd seen flash on her phone a few weeks earlier. The preview showed enough. Can't wait to see you tonight. Last time was amazing, winking faced. My stomach dropped. My chest felt like it was caving in. I knew if I clicked, I'd see more. Part of me didn't want to, but my hands moved on their own. The chat window opened, and there it was in plain text. Flirty messages, pictures, plans, and a whole lot of things no coworker would ever be sending. By the time she came home later, giggling on the phone and tossing her heels into the corner, I was sitting at the kitchen table with her laptop in front of me. "Hey," I said, my voice calm but heavy. "We need to talk." She froze when she saw the screen. Then, just as quickly, her face hardened. "Wow," she said, crossing her arms. "So you went through my stuff? That's pathetic." "Emily," I said slowly, "you've been lying to me. I saw the messages." She let out a sharp laugh. "Oh, come on. It's just fun. Flirting. Not everything has to mean I don't love you." I stared at her. "You told him last time was amazing. How is that just flirting?" For a split second, she faltered. But then her chin tilted up, her eyes blazing with defiance. "You're seriously blowing this out of proportion. Chris is exciting. He makes me feel alive. You." She waved her hand at me, dismissive. "You're safe. Reliable. Boring." I didn't say anything. I just let the silence hang there, thick and heavy. That seemed to irritate her more than if I'd yelled. She kept going, words sharp as knives. "You should be grateful I even stayed this long. Honestly, you'll never do better than me, so don't even think about leaving. You'd be crawling back in a week, begging for another chance." Something inside me clicked in that moment. Not rage, not sadness, just clarity. I stood up, calm as ever. "You really think that?" She smirked. "I know it." I picked up my keys from the counter, slid my wallet into my pocket, and walked toward the door. "Where are you going?" she snapped. I paused in the doorway, looked back at her one last time, and said, "Watch me." Her face twisted, like she couldn't quite believe I wasn't fighting, wasn't begging, wasn't breaking down the way she probably imagined. Then I shut the door behind me. I didn't take anything with me that night. Not clothes, not toiletries, not even the leftovers I had in the fridge. Just my phone, my wallet, and my keys. I drove to my brother's place and crashed on his couch. He asked me what happened, and all I said was, "I'm done." And for the first time in months, maybe years, I felt a strange kind of peace. Emily thought she'd cut me down with her arrogance, that I'd accept being treated like a backup. But what she didn't realize was that the second she said those words, "You'll never do better than me," she'd set me free. I wasn't going to argue. I wasn't going to explain. I wasn't going to justify my worth to someone who saw me as disposable. I was just going to walk away. The first few days after I left, Emily felt strange. Not devastating, strange. I'd expected heartbreak, endless overthinking, the kind of sleepless nights where you cycle through every memory on repeat. Instead, I just felt quiet, like my life had been running on static for months, and suddenly someone turned off the noise. I blocked her number, deleted her from social media, even told my brother, "If she shows up here, don't let her in." At work, people noticed I seemed lighter. One of my coworkers asked if I'd started working out. I hadn't, not yet, but I decided maybe I should. So I joined a gym. At first it was just a distraction, but a couple weeks in, I started actually looking forward to it. My energy came back. I felt sharper, clearer. The more I built routines for myself, the more I realized how much energy I'd wasted trying to keep Emily happy. Cooking meals she never thanked me for. Rearranging my schedule to match hers. Listening to her endless complaints while mine went unheard. Now, without that weight, I had time for things I'd let slide. I started taking weekend hikes again. Reconnected with friends she never liked. Even picked up guitar, something I'd always said I'd try someday. Meanwhile, Emily started testing the cracks in my silence. The first text came about a week later. "Emily, so you're really just ignoring me? That's childish." I didn't reply. A few days later, "Emily, I think we should talk. You left all your stuff here. Don't you want it back?" I still didn't reply. Truth was, I'd bought new clothes. New everything, really. It felt symbolic. Why drag the past into the present? 2 weeks in, her tone shifted. "Emily, I've been thinking maybe I overreacted. Can we meet for coffee? Just to clear the air." I stared at that one for a long time, thumb hovering over the screen. But then I remembered her smirk, her voice dripping with contempt. "You'll never do better than me." Delete. Block. Silence. Around that time, I heard through mutual friends that she was officially seeing Chris, the guy from the messages. Apparently, she'd been flaunting it on Instagram, posting pictures of their romantic nights. My friends said she looked smug, like she'd upgraded. Good for her, I thought. Let her feel smug. I wasn't interested in competing. But then came the whispers. Chris was known for being a serial flirt. Rumors spread he was already texting other women behind her back. One friend told me, everyone at her job thinks she's being used, but she's too proud to admit it. I didn't comment. I just kept lifting weights, learning new songs on guitar, and enjoying the quiet of my own space. By the third week, Emily's messages had grown desperate enough that even blocking couldn't stop her. She started emailing me. Emily, I miss us. I didn't mean what I said. You're the best thing that ever happened to me. Emily, why are you being so cold? I know you still care. I can feel it. Emily, Chris isn't who I thought he was. He's complicated. But you were always there for me. Please don't throw that away. Every email read like a different version of her. Confident, nostalgic, pleading. The progression was obvious. She wasn't sorry for what she did. She was sorry it backfired. And I realized something else. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't even tempted. I was indifferent. She used to say I'd come crawling back in a week. But here I was, a month out, and the thought of being with her again felt like suffocating. Instead of craving her attention, I craved my own peace. Instead of picturing our future, I started picturing mine. I knew then that she had no power over me anymore. And I also knew that, sooner or later, karma would catch up with her. It didn't take long for the cracks in Emily's upgrade to show. Mutual friends started sharing bits and pieces with me, not because I asked, but because they thought I'd find it satisfying. At first, I brushed it off. I didn't need gossip to validate my decision. But as the stories piled up, they painted a picture I couldn't ignore. Chris, the guy she'd risked it all for, was exactly what everyone warned her he was, a user. Apparently, he never paid for anything. When they went out, Emily covered the bill. He forgot his wallet, or claimed his paycheck was late. She started footing his Uber rides, buying him clothes, even lending him money. She told one of her girlfriends it was just temporary, until he got on his feet. But Chris wasn't trying to get on his feet. He was already seeing other women, openly. He flirted with co-workers in front of her. He left his phone lying around, full of messages, and if she confronted him, he'd laugh and say, "Don't be so insecure." The exact line she once threw at me. By the time their 2-month mark rolled around, everyone at her job knew Chris was stringing her along. He'd brag about options, and people pitied her. The girl who once looked down on me for being safe was now clinging to a guy who didn't even pretend to respect her. And then he dumped her. Brutally. One friend told me it happened in public, at a bar, no less. Chris apparently told her, loud enough for others to hear, "You're just too much work." I never saw this as serious anyway. She stormed out, crying, while he ordered another drink and started chatting up someone else. The fallout was immediate. Emily stopped posting pictures, stopped bragging about her upgrade. Instead, she started reaching out to me again. First, it was nostalgic. "Emily, remember that little Italian place we used to go to? I drove past it today and thought of you. I miss that." Then, apologetic. "Emily, I was stupid. I should have seen how good I had it. You were the only one who ever really cared about me." Then, desperate. "Emily, I can't sleep. I just keep thinking about how badly I screwed up. Please, can we just talk? Just once." I ignored every single one. That's when her tone shifted. "Emily, so what? You think you're better than me now? Don't flatter yourself. You'll never find someone like me again. Emily, I know you're reading these. Stop acting so high and mighty. You're not perfect either." Her messages came at all hours, 2 a.m., 7 a.m., lunchtime. Sometimes it was love bombing. "We're soulmates, I know it." Sometimes it was rage. "You're pathetic for ignoring me." One night, she even showed up at my brother's apartment, pounding on the door. He called me at work, annoyed. "She's outside demanding to see you." "What do you want me to do?" "Don't open the door," I said. "Tell her to leave." He did. She sat on the steps crying for half an hour before finally disappearing. I thought that might be the end of it, but no, her family joined in. Her mom sent me a Facebook message. "Emily made a mistake, but don't we all? You two were good together." Her sister texted me. She's really hurting. Just hear her out. I blocked them too. Because here's the truth. It wasn't about a mistake. Everyone makes mistakes, sure. But what Emily did wasn't a slip-up. It was arrogance. It was cruelty. It was standing in my kitchen, looking me dead in the eye, and saying, "You'll never do better than me." And now, she was living proof of how wrong she'd been. I wasn't gloating, but I wasn't blind either. She had burned her bridges, lost her upgrade, and exposed herself to the people around her. She wanted me to be her safety net, her backup plan, her reliable grandpa waiting with open arms. But I'd moved on. By then, my life felt like it was finally my own. My job was going well, my body was changing from the gym, I had real peace in my apartment. Friends noticed the difference. Even I noticed the difference. So when the invite came for a mutual friend's wedding, the kind of event I knew Emily would attend, I didn't hesitate to RSVP yes. Because I knew I wasn't the same man she once dismissed. And when we saw each other again, she'd realize it too. The wedding was held at a vineyard just outside the city. Sunlight spilled over rows of grapes, a soft breeze carrying the sound of laughter and clinking glasses. It felt like a fresh chapter, the kind of moment where everyone wanted to look their best, feel their best, and celebrate love. I showed up in a tailored navy suit, feeling sharper than I had in years. Months of gym work had reshaped me, but more than that, I carried myself differently. Confident, relaxed, free. As soon as I walked in, I noticed people's reactions, smiles, handshakes, compliments. "Man, you look great. Haven't seen you this happy in forever." It was subtle, but validating. And then, of course, I saw her. Emily stood near the bar, a champagne flute in hand, wearing a pale pink dress that probably once made her feel radiant. But up close, the confidence she used to radiate was gone. She looked strained, thinner, like she hadn't been sleeping well. Her eyes locked on me the second I entered. I could see the flicker of surprise, then recognition, then something that almost looked like regret. She waited until I'd greeted a few friends before making her move. She walked over, plastering on a smile like nothing had ever happened. Well, she said, her tone too casual. "Look who decided to show up. You clean up nicely." I gave her a polite nod. "Emily, you've been ignoring me," she said, tilting her head. "Not very mature of you." I sipped my drink, unbothered. "I've been busy." She scoffed lightly. "Busy? Right. So still single? I mean, you must miss me. We had good times." I looked at her for a moment, really looked. This was the same woman who once told me I'd never do better, the same woman who sneered when I confronted her lies. Now she was fishing, desperate to see if she still had a hook in me. "No," I said finally, my voice even. "I don't miss you." Her smile faltered. "You don't mean that. You're just trying to hurt me." I shook my head. "No, I mean it. I don't miss the constant digs. I don't miss wondering who you were texting. I don't miss being treated like a placeholder." Her face tightened. "You're exaggerating. I was just lost for a bit. Everyone makes mistakes." "You didn't make a mistake, Emily," I said, calm but firm. "You made a choice. You looked me in the eye and told me I'd never do better. That wasn't a slip of the tongue. That was how you saw me." She shifted uncomfortably, eyes darting away. "I didn't mean it like that. I was angry." I set my glass down, leaned in just enough for her to hear clearly. "You know what the funny thing is? You were right about one thing. I did do better. But not in the way you meant. I'm better without you. My life is better. I'm better." Her mouth opened, then closed. She looked like she wanted to argue, but no words came out. I straightened up, offered her the same polite smile I'd give a stranger, and added, "So thank you, actually. You showed me exactly what I don't want. And now, you're not even a thought in my future." She blinked, her eyes glassy. "You don't mean that." But I did, and she could see it. Before she could say another word, one of my friends walked over, clapped me on the shoulder, and pulled me into another conversation. I didn't even glance back. Later that evening, as the music swelled and couples filled the dance floor, I caught a glimpse of her standing alone by the bar, watching, waiting, realizing. She had once told me I'd never do better. And now, surrounded by friends, laughing, feeling more alive than I had in years, I knew without a doubt that I already had. Not with someone else. Not yet. But with myself. With my peace. With my freedom. And as I walked out of that vineyard under the string lights, I didn't feel bitterness or anger or loss. I felt nothing at all, because she was nothing to me now. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. What do you think about this story? Share it in the comments.